When we think about what it takes to recover from a big surgery or a serious illness, our minds usually jump to things like medication, rest, maybe some physical therapy. But what if one of the most powerful tools for healing has been hiding in plain sight this whole time, right there on the patient's plate? Today, we're going to dive into the critical and, yeah, often underestimated role that nutrition plays in patient recovery. Okay, so let's jump right in with a question for you. What do you think is the biggest hidden barrier that can throw a wrench in a patient's recovery, sometimes before it even gets started? Now, it's not some super rare complication or a weird side effect from a drug. Nope, it's something way more common, and it starts the second a patient walks through those hospital doors. And the answer is malnutrition. And get this slide shows just how massive the problem is. Research from Frontiers shows that a staggering 40% of patients are already malnourished when they're admitted to the hospital. Think about that. Nearly half of all patients are starting their healing journey with the fuel tank already on empty, fighting an uphill battle from day one. So, being malnourished from the start isn't just a small hiccup. It's a fundamental barrier to healing. It really sets the stage for this whole cascade of problems that can make recovery so much longer, way more complicated, and honestly, a lot more expensive. Let's break down what that actually looks like in real terms. Wow, this chart really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? The data here shows that malnourished patients can end up spending more than double the time in the hospital. We're talking over 17 days compared to just about 8 for patients who are well-nourished. That's more than a whole extra week of recovery, and it's tied directly to their nutritional status when they checked in. And that longer hospital stay, well, it's driven by a whole host of really serious complications. You see, poor nutrition messes with the body's ability to heal wounds, it weakens the immune system, and it makes patients way more likely to get infections. On top of that, it leads to muscle wasting, which hits their strength and ability to move, driving up healthcare costs and even making it more likely they'll have to come right back to the hospital after they leave. So why is this? Why does the body's need for good nutrition just skyrocket after surgery? Well, to get that, we need to understand the massive, incredible stress that an operation puts on the body. It basically kicks off this dramatic, all-hands-on-deck internal response. And this response has a name. It's called catabolism. Essentially, the body goes into full-on survival mode. Under all that stress from surgery, it starts breaking down its own muscle tissue just to get the energy and protein it needs to keep going. Without the right nutritional fuel coming in, the body literally starts to consume itself to survive, which is, the exact opposite of what you want when you're trying to heal. And this slide just perfectly lays out the two very different paths a patient's recovery can take. The well-nourished patient, they've got the resources for faster tissue repair, a strong immune system, and way fewer complications. But the malnourished patient, who's stuck in that catabolic state, they're facing slower healing, a higher risk of infection, and some serious muscle loss. The difference is just stark. But here's the good news. Modern medicine has a really powerful toolkit to fight back against this. We're starting to understand that specific nutrients can be used almost like a targeted medicine to support and even speed up the healing process. So let's get into what that toolkit actually looks like. And this isn't just some fringe idea, it's a core principle in clinical practice now. Like this comment from the Journal of the Indian Medical Association makes crystal clear, supplementing with these tiny but mighty micronutrients is considered crucial. It's a real evidence-based strategy for actively making patients better. Just take the B vitamin complex, for example. Look at how versatile these things are. They are a true powerhouse, involved in pretty much everything, from creating energy and keeping nerves healthy to repairing DNA. They are basically the fundamental support glue for a body that's under a ton of stress. And it goes beyond B vitamins. A few other nutrients are really the true building blocks of repair. Protein is the bricks and mortar. It's absolutely essential for rebuilding tissue. Then you've got vitamin C, which is vital for creating collagen. Think of it like the body's scaffolding. Zinc is a key player in making new cells and boosting the immune system. And omega-3s are critical for taming inflammation, which is a huge part of healing. Okay, so it's one thing to know which nutrients are important, but how do doctors and clinicians actually put this knowledge into action? This is where we're seeing a huge shift, moving away from just reactively feeding patients to proactively and strategically planning their nutrition. One of the best examples of this is something called the Enhanced Recovery After Surgery Pathway, or ERAs for short. This has been a total game changer. It's an evidence-based approach that fully bakes nutrition into the entire surgical plan. With ERAs, nutrition is no longer an afterthought. It is a planned, critical part of the treatment from the very beginning. So the ERAS pathway has a few really smart steps. It actually starts before surgery by screening patients for malnutrition to get them on the right track early. Then, and this is cool, instead of that old-school fasting, patients often get a special carbohydrate drink a few hours before the operation to lower the body's stress response. And then, crucially, after the surgery, the goal is to get the patient eating again as soon as possible to fuel healing and keep the gut healthy. Now, for the most critically ill patients, especially those in the ICU, the strategic thinking gets even more detailed and precise. Clinicians follow these really strict guidelines to figure out the absolute best and safest way to deliver nutrition. Sometimes that's through the gut, which is called enteral feeding, or sometimes it's directly through an IV, which is known as parenteral feeding. But the main goal is always the same: get those vital nutrients in early and effectively.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it really requires us to completely reframe how we think about the role of food and nutrients in a hospital. Here's what it all boils down to. Nutrition in a clinical setting is not just about hospital food on a tray. It is a targeted medical therapy. When it's used strategically, it is an incredibly powerful tool that is proven to reduce complications, shorten hospital stays, and fundamentally speed up the healing process. So that leaves us with one final, and I think pretty powerful question to think about. Given everything we've seen, all the evidence of its power to shape recovery, should we start thinking about a patient's nutrition plan with the exact same seriousness and precision as we do their drug prescriptions?
When you're recovering from surgery or illness, there's one factor that's often overlooked but absolutely critical. And get this, a shockingly high number, up to 40% of patients, are already malnourished when they're admitted. So why is this such a massive, and often hidden, roadblock to getting better?
Yeah, malnutrition isn't a small thing. It kicks off a whole chain reaction of negative outcomes.
After the stress of surgery, your body's nutritional needs just skyrocket. It needs fuel to heal and fast. This is what's called physiological recovery. And trust me, it's an incredibly demanding job for your body. Your body has this huge repair checklist, and every single task on it requires the right kind of fuel. And protein? Think of it like the actual bricks you need to rebuild after the earthquake of surgery.
But the solution isn't just more food. It's all about a smart, scientific, and targeted approach.
For patients in the ICU, guidelines like these provide a clear roadmap for nutritional support. And this strategic thinking isn't just for emergencies anymore. It's completely revolutionizing planned surgical care.
For surgical patients, detailed assessments now help create a custom nutrition plan before their procedure.
The whole goal is to fix any undernutrition before the surgery and then support the body after.
Okay, so beyond protein and calories, tiny micronutrients play a massive, often underappreciated role in healing.
Take B vitamins. They're essential for everything from repairing cells to keeping your immune system strong. Then you've got other key players like zinc, vitamin C, iron, and omega-3s. Each one has a specific job. This has led to really advanced ideas like immunonutrition, using specific nutrients to actively boost the immune system.
So what does this all mean? Well, it's a huge shift in how we think about nutrition and medicine. We're moving away from a reactive model to a proactive one. It's all about preparation and customized support.
You can really see this new standard in protocols like ERAS, that's Enhanced Recovery After Surgery.
By putting nutrition front and center, ERAS pathways lead to better outcomes and shorter hospital stays.
The evidence is just crystal clear. Addressing nutrition isn't just good for patients, it's good for the system.
Which really leaves us with one big question. Should a nutrition plan be as standard as a prescription?